The next set of triggers that I'm going to program will be the triggers on the reader. If I click the expand here on the reader for our triggers gear, we need to tell our software what we want the reader to do on a valid access. We also need to tell the software what we want the reader to do on an access denied. So let's start with the reader valid. Okay, so I'm going to hit the plus and we're going to tell the hardware if we get an access granted transaction. Now, what type of transactions are these? Access granted transactions. Which access granted transactions? These are all the different types of access granted that we already spoke about. And I'm just going to tell the software if we get a valid access. During what time zone? I'm going to say always. Maybe we only want the valid access to work 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. You can do that. I'm going to say always. Save and close. Done. If we get an access granted, what do we want to happen? Now, this is going to look very similar to what we did for the request to exit. On a valid access, I'm going to hit the plus here, right? So if this happens, then what do we want to do? Well, the first thing is, if we have a valid access, I don't want the door contact to report a door forced open when we open the door. So the device, the first thing I'm going to program here on the contact point, on the server room door contact, command, I'm going to disable the contact reporting. So the reader doesn't report to the software that it's active, that the DoD is active, and to get a door forced open. Now, how long do we want this to happen? I'm going to do this for 30 seconds. Copy and paste. If the door is open for longer than 30 seconds, we're going to get a door held open. So I'm just going to hit save and new and go right into the next one. If the DoD, if we get a valid access on the DoD, I want to disable the trigger that we just programmed that says if we get a contact active on the DoD, a forced or a held, turn on the bell, right? Energize the bell relay. We're going to disable that. So on the we're going to do our contact trigger disabled for 30 seconds. Copy and paste that. Save and new. On an access granted, we need to energize the relay to unlock the door. So the device the action affects now will be our relay on the server room go relay. Command, I want to energize the relay to unlock the door. How long? 3 seconds, 5 seconds. I'm going to copy and paste that. Save and new. I want to turn the LED green so that people know the door is unlocked. On the reader, server room reader, command, LED green. For how long? 3 seconds. Copy and paste. So now we've told the software when we get an access granted, this is what we want to do. Remember, all this programmed for you by the template, but you can edit any of these. Remember, the template also programs on a valid access to disable the request to exit. If you've got a motion sensor request to exit, after a valid access, you're going to open the door, walk through the door, and you'll walk through the motion. So we're going to disable the motion sensor request to exit from reporting and disable the motion sensor triggers from unlocking the door, right? We don't need those to happen on a valid access. That's the way the template's programmed. Now, when you're programming a reader interface, we also want to make sure that we program something to happen on the access denied, right? The reader interface knows that it gets its commands from the controller. So on an access denied, the reader is going to go to the controller and say, what do I do? and we just want to give it something to do. Now, I'm going to hit the plus here, and I'll say if we get an access denied. What type of transactions are these? Access denied transactions. Which access denied transactions? Any of them. I'm going to say if I get any of these access denieds, we want what I'm about to program to happen during a time zone of always. So if the reader interface reports any access denied, what do we want to happen? Well, the first thing we want to have, well, actually the only thing we're going to program is on the server room reader, we're just going to say turn the LED red for 1 second. Remember, this is how the template's programmed. This is just giving the reader something to do so the reader doesn't, keep going back to the controller saying, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? So, there's the command. We could make this functional though. We could say turn the LED red for 1 second. We could say turn the buzzer on in the reader. Maybe you want to turn on your annunciator on the door so the bell rings on an access denied. We're just going to program this the way the template is. We're just saying turn the LED red for 1 second. These are the triggers, right? The access granted and the access denied triggers that we're going to program for this class.